You are watching the Blueprint Radio Show with DJ Miss Hennessy.
Yo, let's do like a non-standard shit.
What to ill-equip, to ill-equip, to ill-equip,
Enjoy
to ill-equip.
listening to it. Let's get to the basics. You call it complacent. I'm in between places of mind states, and most of them vacant. You try to be one of the greatest, but all that I do is forever debated. You got me at levels of gas and a tap, and that fucking your rapping has got me deflated. You tell me what the definition of making it straight to get paid off the anus. So Spotify curators telling you latest and straight up debating this. Nobody here even his greatest hits. Somebody is selling the playlist. Talk about doing some shady shit. The only ones getting the paycheck, cutting percentages out of their pocket and taking it. The sacredness, you fuck the creators. They continue to rape us. Take us for idiots up in this bitch, and I'm hitting it back to the scene to debate us. I'll be a one, atomic a bomb when I drop a gem on you, bro. Check what it's laced with. Tools for the greatness, hammer a thought to destroy any enemy tempted to take it. Yeah. La la la. La la la. Hey, hey. La la la. La. Click clack, jerks. But fuckers are taking it literal. That's why when it comes to a handout, bro, I swear to God, giving the minimal. People are trivial. Got nothing to say in the interval. You shell of a person, I'm working in shadows. The murky you speaking that lyrical finicky fuckers are nothing but lovers undercovers. Bunch of brothers giving each other rub and tuggers, sucking each other and loving it, Cuz you can't judge. You never been one to discriminate. You never been one to intimidate. You fucking to stand strong with the flame of a tongue. I'm here to incinerate and demonstrate. Got hazy to cook me, you hated to fucking obliterate. Leave nothing but chicken as charred as fucking Ojana bitch up on your dinner plate. I have you stutter and mumbling something. How much do I have to reiterate? I'm here for the family, mapping and gunning. You fuckers are planning a dinner, they had to innovate. Been doing this so long, I'm nothing that's looking to penetrate. I get the respect for the written, the giving, I'm living it, looking to elevate. You generate couple of million streams, the only way people will celebrate. I'm in it for life, not a minute, and been doing me while the others just imitate. I disintegrate. Anyone looking to step to me, brother, I bite back. Daffy Duck shooting the beat to the back of your skull, and I'll thud when I fight back. Stay on the topic, you're offered and constantly honored to offer the mic back. If you're looking to hold it down properly, choppily, shoddy cocked off for a nightcaps. Yeah. La la la. La la la. Hey, hey. La la la. Yo, Hazy. Click clack. Jokes.
Quit.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Blueprint HipHop Soul Show right here on Miss Hennessy TV. I'm DJ Miss Hennessy. Tonight, I'm so excited to introduce. He is definitely one of the pioneers in this hip-hop game. I tell him that all the time. But what's also nice is that he's also a really dear friend and he's just family. This is the incredible Lee Monro. Welcome, brother. How you doing?
Yo, I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm cool. You're looking effortlessly cool tonight, though, with the hoodie and the hat and just screaming.
Look, man, you know, I gotta say, like these things, lately I've been like really obsessed with like local. I mean, like obviously not local teams. Lakers are my team, but man, Earls is relatively local. Yeah, but thank you. Half fashion, half practicality. I'm, still a bit cold. So
I feel you, but you make it look cool though. You always make it look like your drip's always cool. You just got that. You're just lucky like that, I guess, right?
It's nah. Look, I think about it every day. I'm a pedantic guy. I've always been in retail, so I'm always like, what's the fabric look like? What's the cut look like? Where's the collar sit on my neck? Does it make me look like I'm trying to wear some probably a bit too much, but
you gotta have that collar placement right though, because if you don't, it can throw it all off, and people talk on the streets about collar placement, bro.
Oh, mate, they do. They'll be like, "Oh, you see that guy's collar? Loser. Got nothing going for him. If he's in a job interview, he's not getting the job." Anyway.
You're a classic. Now, obviously, apart from getting the look right and representing local, you've been a very busy man. Okay, now you're no stranger to having a chat to me. You come to the radio show a lot of times. We've spoken ad nauseum about everything, from hip hop to your career to just trolls to everything for many, many years. And I have to say that I think the last time we spoke was in the studio when we were still doing radio before all of this craziness hit. And you were literally like on one of the most massive highs with just releasing single after single after single. That was about, I think, maybe a year and a half ago now. Fast forward,
Yep.
you're still on this high, single after single, and you just released an incredible new EP called Untitled. Congratulations. How is it all going for you?
Yeah, look, good. I was talking to one of my friends today, Mike Pompey, another MC in Sydney, and we're just discussing the entrepreneurial aspect of, I think, releasing. And he said the same thing. It was like, congrats on the EP. How do you know, how's it feel? And it was funny, and I'm sure you can relate a little bit, where because we're a little bit more self-sufficient as artists and stuff like that now, piecing it together and organizing the the CDs, organizing the stickers, organizing the marketing, organizing the release, distribution, et cetera, et cetera. I didn't have many opportunities to sit down and just listen to it back to front. So yeah, like I suppose there was a little bit of a lingering thing of sonic cohesiveness and like a project cohesiveness as far as the sound goes, and having stuff that sits next to each other as being similar, also stuff that sits far away enough that they all stand on their own merit. And I have to say I've been pretty stoked with the love and the feedback that I've gotten for it. A lot of love for the hard copy stuff. I've actually been I only got a small run of hard copy stuff, and I've got my shirts online, and man, like I've just done a little bit of a push, and it's actually been real refreshing, man. Like people coming out the pocket and showing love, and yeah, it's just been real eye opening. So still on a high, still learning heaps, and trying to use my platform as well for a bit of education, because even little things like selling 100 CDs for me is the equivalent of 500,000 streams monetarily. So I think that's the sort of shit that doesn't probably get spoken about enough, particularly between artists sharing sort of game and knowledge. So we're trying to get that out there as well.
That's what's up. But that's the thing that I love about you. And for a lack of sounding old, you always keep it real. Like seriously, from day dot, you've always kept it 100, and that could be from whatever your personal struggles were just in life. You don't beat around the bush, and I think that's what the appeal is, and that's where the real love comes from. And anybody who doesn't understand real is always going to go on the opposing side of it and question it, because it might be affront to them. You handle shit head on, and I think maybe because we're friends and we're peers in this industry, and we have been for a long time, it's so refreshing to know that no matter what it is you've been through, there's always been that inner core of you that's always stayed true, and it comes out in your music. And I think the natural excitement that everybody has when Lee's dropping something new is because we know you've got some shit to say, and you're gonna say it. So it's great, and it's exciting, and I love it. There's no holds barred. Have you always been like that, or are you getting more comfortable with being that essence of you, or have you always just been that person as an artist?
Good question. Lately I've probably been a little bit more reflective on who I am as an artist, particularly since I met Ello and got back into, creating. I've always been confident in expressing how I've wanted to express, So it's funny, someone sent me an article in The Age from years ago, like 2004, and it's just funny how I even carried myself in these interviews. I was sort of expressing a little bit of frustration, and I suppose the weight of the media's words, because they sort of surrounded it with stuff that probably didn't necessarily frame me the best way. But essentially, there's always still, like, I suppose, a confidence of being myself there. And I read it in the fact that, like, I would turn around to this interview person and say, I've got no shame in being commercial. I've got no shame in, making rap music for a greater audience to listen to. But as far as, I think, tackling maybe issues and me being maybe a little bit more introspective as far as my content goes, I think that definitely came in later years. Like, I've always been myself and kept it real. I've never shied away. I've never gone with the crowd. I've always been a little bit of a black sheep in as far as the the scene goes.
Yeah.
And people have loved me and hated me for it. But I'd rather die being who I am than being someone I'm not, and struggling with that. And I think that I've just found that more and more along the way. Probably most of late, I feel as though I've found, and we've discussed this before, a bit more of a responsibility.
Yeah.
For, I think, putting confidence in others with regards to my struggles. If I've done it, I know that a lot of other people are going through it. I'm just blessed with the fact that I've got the confidence and I've grown to be able to have a voice. And, so many people, you and I both know, they don't have that voice. They don't have that opportunity. So, if we can speak for them and we get somebody else through, and we have to be the people that walk through the door and cop the knives or cop the bullets so that they've got a stronger platform to speak on, then, so be it. I'm comfortable with that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And yeah, I have to agree with you. I mean, I think that the age group, and I don't always just mean like the physical age, but I think the longevity that we've had in this industry, it should lend us to that, each one teach one now, right? And
yes,
we were obviously talking off air before I hit record about when we were coming up, right? And there weren't people before us to help us, so we were helping each other and ourselves.
Yep.
So the ones who were looking at us, we could only give so much to them to help them, because we didn't even know where we were headed. I think we were looking at the likes of like the US, industry, like the Russell Simmons and the Puff Daddies and all of those guys who were these massive figures in hip hop entrepreneurship, all of this sort of stuff. I mean, for myself, women like Angie Martinez, on the radio, right? The biggest muse, biggest inspiration ever. I was my own Angie Martinez. I didn't have anybody really to go, oh, this is how you do it. So as much as it was difficult, I'm actually kind of proud that that's the role that we were in, because we are almost like the vanguards of this community, whether people want to say it or not. Sometimes we got to own that. We're in this,
100%.
right? We have to own it, okay? And I think it just falls to that whole tall poppy syndrome thing that we deal with in Australia all the time. Whether it's the rock industry, whether it's pop, whatever, it's always like, yeah, back in your box, you're not that special. Shit.
It's funny, yeah, I was watching a documentary about Luke Longley. I don't know if you've seen it, but he played a pivotal role in the Chicago Bulls 3 championships, the second 3 championships, and played alongside like Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, and Dennis Rodman. And when he's actually an absolute leader, right? He was the first Australian to ever win an NBA championship, right? And he did it with Michael Jordan, right? And he was the starting center. And what sort of stood out so much to me was there's this actual scene where they basically just ask him verbatim, like, how did it feel to not be included in this massive documentary, The Last Dance, which everyone was familiar with? And they didn't include him. And his response was, the self-deprecating Australian in me understands why, they shed light on, these other they had rock stars, Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, Dennis Rodman. These guys were icons, right? However, he also had to pull it out of himself, to say like, no, hang on a minute. I played a pivotal role in that. I do deserve coverage. I am the first Australian to win an NBA championship, you know, and then I think that tall poppy syndrome has really inbred a, like Luke Longley said, a bit of a self-deprecating standpoint, you know. So more often than not, you know, we're frowned upon for turning around saying, well, we were the fucking first ones to do it. But fact of the matter is, we were some of the first to do it, and we're still some of the people that are in the game, and we're still some of the people that are helping the next gen out. So I've got no shame in that. You know, we should, and nor should anybody that was from that, you know, sort of era have any shame in it, because fuck, it's important. If we don't do it, somebody else is going to do it.
Well, this is it, and I think it's also it's okay to own that fact and to be okay understanding that truth. And I think now more than ever, especially with the way life is going, you know, dealing with lockdowns and the entertainment industry is almost abysmal. There's, you know, everyone's holding on to whatever creative threads that they can. I think necessary realness right now is definitely what it is to own our truths. And I think that brings me to obviously my next question. How are you maintaining at this time, obviously, with everything that's happening, both, you know, entertainment, creative industries are just not there, and then the retail industry, and that's obviously both your worlds. How are you going with everything? How are you coping?
Look, you know, I'm a blessed man. You know, I've gone through my shit, but you know, I've got a beautiful fiance slash Mrs. in Mackenzie who is insanely supportive. You know, I've got 4 absolutely gorgeous children, and you know, my hard work in keeping myself involved in shit that I give a fuck about, like, you know, hip hop, you know, arts, you know, fashion, you know, I'm never bored, you know, like I never stop learning. Like, I feel as though I feel really sorry for, and I think we've sort of briefly had this conversation last time we spoke, but you know, I think that one of the downfalls of society sometimes is that, you know, people really do believe genuinely deep inside their heart that they must sit inside the system and they have to get the job and then buy the house and then you know, have the, you know, the white picket fence, the you know, the cars and the dogs and the children and you know, and they must suffer for that, you know. I don't necessarily think that's true, and I felt bad for some of my people that were stuck in the system and so reliant on it that as soon as, you know, the rug got pulled from under them, you know, they were fucking clueless, yo. Like, they had no idea who they were. They didn't know what their identity was. You know, they're literally sitting there like going, well, what do I do? Man, for me, that wasn't a thing. I was like, cool, put down one fucking thing, pick up another. I don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? Like, I'll rap in the shower. I'll rap fucking washing the dishes. Like it doesn't change for me. So the only thing that I probably did have to change up was I had to get a little bit more self-sustainable. You know, I went out, I copped this fucking ring light thing here so I can do some stuff online. It looked pretty fresh. I went and invested in a better microphone, started writing out some fucking hectic demos, and some of which ended up on the EP, which I was fucking massively thankful for. You know, I'm out here printing stickers, you know, like learning how to do all this. And now I've got people calling me like, oh, Lee, you learned how, you did this, teach me how. I'm like, bro, you know who taught me how? Google taught me how. I didn't, nobody was telling me, like, so I guess that busybody sort of aspect of me has kept me afloat. Don't get me wrong, like I'm still human. I've still had my little bouts of feeling down or like snapping at the kids or snapping at Mackenzie, but I'm always mindful that like I always catch myself and I was like, I'm sorry, it's just driving me crazy, and an open conversation always saves the day. So
absolutely. Well, you know what, I can totally concur with that, and I think if anything, if COVID never, if we were always hustlers before COVID, right? And if you needed to learn how to be a hustler, COVID should certainly have been the greatest vehicle to help you enhance the hustle.
Absolutely. Yo. And I don't know about you, but I've like, what's been really, really, really cool to see is that some of my guys that struggled with the first like lockdown
Yeah.
and that have been re-locked down, the way that they've handled it the second time around, there's one girl in particular at my work where like she was really a mess in the first one, needed a lot of support, needed a lot of, she didn't really think laterally. She was like really just straight up and down,
Right.
But this second one, because she had learned from the first one and she just didn't rest on her laurels, now you inject her into this lockdown, man, and she hasn't skipped a beat. Matter of fact, she's doing better in lockdown than she was doing out of lockdown. So
That's what's up.
she's like educated and adjusted, and she was living in the system and now she sort of works with it, but she makes the system work a little bit more for her. So that's like so good to watch as well, so
That's it.
shout out to those people, yo.
Absolutely. But at the end of the day too, and I have said this to a few people, I know that it is tough, but I think for a lot of us it's also it gives you some breathing room, man. Like what your next move is.
Yeah.
And again, like watching somebody like yourself, like you're self-sufficient. You're a one-man machine with, writing and, recording and, promoting and doing all these things. It's so inspiring. It's so inspiring to watch. And
Thanks, man.
I look at myself being the one-woman show on my end, and I'm writing and I'm publishing and I'm producing things. But I'm going, I hope this comes out right, because I've got no producer. I've got green screens that I'm sticking up on the wall with masking tape and soft light boxes. Like, I don't know what the hell it's supposed to make me look like, but hey, if it's going to look good on the gram, then that's all that matters, right? But we have to be resourceful. We have to be able to push ourselves. So I have to say, you are a really huge inspiration. Like, whether people are a fan of you or not, your hustle is second to none, and you always keeping it real. The biggest thing I think that came out of last year with sort of watching your career was obviously the Godzilla podcast. That was a godsend to our industry, and I think I told you that. I was so blown away by not only the momentum that podcast sort of grew into, but it just suited you. That role just suited you, and you were like effortless with it. Is it something that you always wanted to do, or was that just something like, oh, I'm going to put my big toe in and see what's up, and then before you knew it, your whole body was involved? What was the Godzilla podcast experience like?
So, I always wanted to do it. And, once podcasts started to gain a little bit more traction as far as investment, like listener investment came about, I did always want to do it. I had no idea where to start again. It's like, I got no idea.
Yeah.
So it was always in the back of my head. The other thing is, like particularly since about 2011, 12, I was just really blown away. Because back in the day, in the late 90s, early 2000s, it was really easy to set yourself apart from other talent. Like, I'm not going to lie, that's not even me being, cocky or anything. If you just worked harder than the next person, it was just a little bit easier to get an edge, because if you were anywhere remotely close to an elevated caliber here, most people weren't investing the time in it, right? It was like just a hobby or on the side or whatever. So, it was a little bit easier to set yourself apart. Once 2011, 2012 came, what really stood out to me, particularly in West Sydney, was that the caliber of the artists and the identity of Australian hip hop was starting to shift, was starting to change. And I found myself immersed in like this scene. It was really budding still and still like on the come up. But people who are now involved in acts such as 1-4 and Kid Leroy and stuff like that, like who are now international phenomenons, like those people were coming up at that time, and they were supremely talented. And it was just really eye-opening to me. All of a sudden, look, with my experience certainly gave me an absolute edge still, and it always does, as far as my craft goes. But the level of talent was just, you know, really broad. It was no longer like a little pocket of us. It was like I could reach anywhere across Sydney or Melbourne or Adelaide or Perth or Brisbane and find talent. So I began to become a little bit more interested in the stories behind it. I could hear struggle in it. I could hear authenticity. I could hear more grit, you know. So I always wanted to discuss with those people, and I really feel as though I did see a gap. I was like, well, nobody else seems to really give like a damn about it, unless it's like really at a like commodity level where it's like, well, how can we get paid for this? Then they're interested. Prior to that, there was a gap. So, you know, I just wanted to, I think, give these guys the respect of time and ask them the questions that they deserve to be asked, not the fucking, you know, there's a string of like, you know, like, and I asked the same things. Where did you come from? And blah, blah, blah. But it really ended there. And it was quite superficial and shallow. And I just knew there was so much more depth to these guys, you know, like, you know, what makes you this certain way, you know, what part of your upbringing, like, really plays on your mental, what do you stand for? Like, you know, talk to me about that, because that's what your fans deserve to hear. And I wanted to give them a platform to have more integrity. So once I met with, I did a bushfire gig where I was just doing a gig to raise money for the bushfires. Shout out to Johnny Evans, Ricky from Open Source, and Esky as well. They asked me to perform, and I remember going out there, and you know, it was pissing down rain. You know, the bush, you know, it was just a really, and the turnout was okay. There was another rap group there, and I won't say who they were, but they decided not to play because of the turnout. And Ricky turned to me. He was like, and this is the first time I met Ricky, and bro, I love Ricky, my bro. But he turned around to me. He was like, hey, man, like, thanks for coming down. If you don't want to play, you don't have to. I was like, nah, bro, I didn't give a fuck. I'll play to fucking 2 people. I'll play to 200, 2,000. Doesn't matter. Like, I'll kick a set. Like, that's what I came here for. He was like, oh, man, much appreciated. He saw me do my thing, what I stood for. I did Speak Less out there.
I love that song.
Yeah. And that was, and see, like, Speak Less is really where I started to get into my real expression of you know, accepting my faults, but like, you know, taking them as wins. And so we connected, and I told him about the idea. Pardon me. I told him about the idea for the podcast, and he was just like, yo, there's a space for that. I think we could do it. And so, you know, we brainstormed it, and that's what I love about Ricky. Ricky, man, if for people that don't know Ricky from Open Source, like the best thing about Ricky is that, like, there is no idea that you will pitch to him that he will not take seriously, right? And he gives it the time of day. Oh man, he gives it the time of day. He gives it a sit down. He like brainstorms it. He, you know, he contextualizes it, and he brings it to life. We did the first episode and we failed because we overthought it. We got 2 high quality cameras. The editing was too much, this, that, the other. So it didn't work. Ricky turns around, calls me, and we sort of went back to the drawing board, and he goes, bro, I've got it. I know how to facilitate this and run this tight, bang, bang, bang. And sure enough, our first episode back with Samurai or Beast Mode, like, went off without a hitch. It was so easy to edit. And then the team was solidified from day one. So, you know, and once I was able to sit with these peers and new people as well, and honestly, to be real, I wasn't necessarily thinking of the audience. I was thinking of myself as the audience. Like, what do I want to know about this guy? You know, like, and I think that's how it came off as like quite seamless and stuff and genuine, because it was just really me, you know, asking like what I want to know. And I give a damn about these people enough that I want to know like better shit, you know? And being an artist, I think probably helped, because I also know what would I like to be asked, you know? So, so went in like that. It went really, really well. You know, shout out to all the artists that came through. We did put it on indefinite hiatus at the moment, just because it was really getting hard to facilitate on a bi-weekly basis. And you know, I've got no shame in saying that, you know, there's two ways that we need investment. It's either monetary to keep us going, or alternatively, it's just viewership. And it was hard to maintain a consistent viewership without the right, I think, reach. So, you know, it's there. We've got it. If we ever need to do it, we can pick it back up where it left off. And I'm so proud of it.
And you should
know,
be, man. It was just, I was so honored to be on the show, because to me, it's like almost, it has like a cult vibe about it. Like, you were asking people to bring Godzilla, reptile little thing. Now, I don't like reptiles in any shape or form. And you had me looking for Komodo dragons. I tried to come in and go, Lee, will this do? And you were like, no, that's not Godzilla. That's a Komodo dragon. I went, they're all the same. Like, to me, a lizard.
no.
Okay? I don't like the bastards. I don't want to get involved with them. Take the Komodo dragon. But it was just, like, to me, it's just that the way you guys marketed it, the authenticity of it. And I think, yeah, you've just said it. You almost selfishly just wanted to have these people on because you wanted to know more about their story and give them the platform. And that's truth telling, right? And that is appealing to a lot of people who are tired of the, what's your favorite color? What do you eat it? You know, all that kind of crap service level media bullshit. There's none of that when you step in there. So it felt like this cult status type of thing. So I understand the hiatus. I understand doing what you've done, but I think it will probably skyrocket if and when you guys ever decide to do it again. So it was an absolute honor for me to be on the show, I think, because to sort of be recognized in the way that you've just described as, you know, legend peers, this, that, and the other. I don't look at myself like that. I look at everybody else. So to be in that and be in the seat where I was asked the questions was a trip, and it was dope. And you went in on some questions, but I know I answered a lot. Shit, I spoke a lot. I know.
No, well, but and I think that was the other element that I think was really missing in the scene. You know, you've got some people that are short, absolutely. You know, their answers don't have you know, much more to them. But then there's people that, you know, and I'm one as well, where like, you know, I like to get a little bit more contextualization to it. So you really get a thorough understanding and connection with it. You know, I think sometimes when you touch on questions and you've got to wrap it up and you're rushing and, you know, that's why media can often misconstrue what you say, because there may be a sentence or two that you've got to chuck in there to completely contextualize something, but you know, you take that sentence out and then all of a sudden it means something, you know, completely different, you know. So also not, I think, being restrictive of the time format, you know, like it's you and I, and I mean, look, both of you and I together, I think certainly gonna be a bit of a chin wag, but it's but it's important, you know, like it's important that, you know, like if you've got something to say, that you say it in its entirety, you know. And I think not having a you know, a box on that or a chain on that really allowed us to give people the opportunity to really, you know, talk about this. And you know, someone like yourself, someone, you know, who I consider amazing, you know, esteemed, talented, driven, passionate, you know, invested, dedicated. I could use all these words and go on, but what you were saying before, as well as being long-standing, you know, like that sort of experience doesn't fit into a 15-minute segment.
No,
you know, I'm sorry, it just doesn't. And so, you know, it's like, okay, cool. Well, who's going to be the one to give the respect again to have that conversation in a long format? And look, truth be told, there's a few people coming out now that are doing it, and they're allowing longer formats, and they're editing it in maybe shorter bits, but at least they're getting full questions in.
Yes.
But outside of that, I just knew there was a group of people that I knew weren't getting the time. You know, people like even, you know, yourself, people like someone else, like Beast Mode, like Samurai, like, you know, Nino Brown, you know, Forte to me, like, you know, Will Singe even, Kobe D, young Indigenous lad, you know, Barker, like, bro, Mirror.
Yeah.
These guys are staples. Like, if you know anything about your shit here,
thank you.
like those are names that we all talk about.
Thank you.
And you know what's so dope actually? I'd have these young cats hit me up and they'd be like, "Hey man, I had no idea." And I'm like, "I fucking know you didn't have an idea."
Yes,
and you know what? We don't blame you for not having an idea, because you know what? Nobody gives a fuck to talk about anybody else but themselves to give you the idea. So let me step the fuck out of myself for a second and show you some other hectic stuff that, you know, you need to be up on so that you can frame your own city better. You can frame your own country better, your genre better, you know, your identity better, your culture better, right? And actually have something that you feel like you can graft to, rather than say, why don't I fit in this society? And how come I only see people that are cut of the same cloth so sparingly? No, there's an entire group of us there for you, you know, to tap into. So yeah.
And that's it. And again, just to echo of that, I mean, I think back to how long we've been in this, right? And to hear you say that, it's you know, we're paying homage to the reason why this is now is because of those back then. So if there's no historical content, if there's no visual content or anything relating to that, it's true. The kids of today will just assume that this just happened. It didn't just happen. And I had to have the same conversation with myself, Lee, when I wrote my first book, How to Live for Love and Hip Hop, right?
Yeah.
And I think you and I have spoken to you about that ad nauseum, about the hit and miss that book had, but how important historically that book is.
Yes.
Written from the point of view of the person that was in the driving seat of that from go to woe, right? Written from the aspect of a woman in the Australian hip hop community, not as an artist, but as a person who is interviewing, who is finding, who is researching, who is helping to get the artist out there. And the lack of respect that book got when it first came out, I sometimes put it down to myself going, I didn't promote it enough. I didn't promote it well enough. Maybe it came out, it was ill received because people weren't ready to receive it. With books, and this is what I've learned now as a self-publisher, it is about timing. But it's also, if people don't want to hear the truth and if they're not ready to accept it, you can't force it. You can't do anything. But it's there. And it pays homage to everybody. Whether we're cool or not, you're mentioned, you're thanked, you're respected, and you're wished well with that book. And I'm hoping that whoever the younger generation are and they pick it up wherever they find it, hopefully not in some half-off bin out the front of Angus and Robertson, or, you know, Dimmicks or something like that. Maybe
where they find Figgkid CDs.
But, you know,
I had a dude tell me he bought one for $2.
You know what I'm saying? Buy it though, and in there look through, and then you'll see these names we mentioned and go, oh, yo, I didn't know that. But it's just interesting that, you know, we're in the positions that we're in to make it easier for today's generation to kind of go, oh, that's why that's there. You know, that's why this club is actually, I don't think the club thing's going to be around anymore. That's fucked. Literally. But the whole industry.
Well, I've got to say something actually. You know, it's really actually COVID's really helped like smaller independent live performance.
Yeah.
Because internationals don't come out anymore. People want to see a good show and get blind. So it's actually opened up the floodgates for us to put on little shows and get people invested for like $20 tickets.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, shout out to COVID for that.
Thank you. And that's the only thing to be shouted out for, basically. So speaking of obviously like live acts and not being able to do stuff, um,
Mm.
you enjoy performing live, and you were doing quite a few gigs before this second lockdown came about. You're also working with a lot
Yeah.
of like a lot of up and coming new artists and giving them a bit of a launch pad. Can we talk a little bit about that project that you were sort of working on and how that was
I was
going?
working, yeah, I was working on one thing. Yeah, I was working on one thing called the League. It didn't take off, but I managed to put piece another show together with another artist. Um, but you know, again, I'm all about, I think, getting my learnings and passing them on to the next generation. Look, I will say that I do gravitate towards people where maybe my taste, is of their music as well. Like I've got to be excited to promote and get people on as well. You know what I mean? Like I'm not going to lie there, and that's not to take anything away from an artist that maybe I wouldn't gravitate towards as much. It's more just to say that look, I'm anything I learn, I try to reach out to people that are dope within arm's reach. I try to collaborate with them, network, build off that. And then, if somebody turns around and maybe isn't necessarily in my pocket or in, my scope of artists, if they ever turn around, and it happened just the other day. I had a young dude hit me up and he really wants it, he really is driving, he's really pushing. I don't necessarily fuck with his music, but I fuck with his drive and his passion. So if he turns around and asks me anything, and I said to him, I said, bro, if you need to know anything, you see anything that I do that you like, hit me up, ask me the question, I'll point you in the right direction, and you can put your spin on executing, what I've done for your music. So I'll never withhold the information from these guys. But as far as the live music goes and getting guys on, I think that I just saw the opportunity where COVID allowed us to do some smaller shows, and I knew some promoters, some we did ourselves, some other shows we have promoters on, and I just made sure that I was reaching into my network, whether it be, there's a MC called Saint Bedlam, and she's an absolute weapon. So I'm down in Menai doing a workshop. Yep, I'm down in Menai doing a workshop down at the youth center down there. So shout out to Pat. Menai, we're putting an end of the term sort of gig on. Who do you want to get involved? And I see, like, I'm out and about. I see these MCs working. You don't even have to ask me twice, man. I can rattle off 10 to you to perform right now. So I reach out to St. Bedlam. Shout out to St. Bedlam and Beggar for coming down. Scooby Tunes for coming down. Double L coming down. Even Christian Dean, who was all the way at Newcastle. He wanted to catch up with me. He drove all the way down to the Shire, and then ended up jumping up and kicking a 16. So, I just, again, it's about those opportunities that we were never given, and I'm not short these days of finding, amazing talent who also don't have the ego to say, oh, nah, Lee, I'm good.
Yeah.
Like,
It's about that too, man. That ego, you got to either have a healthy one or a really outlandish, obtuse one that's just going to ruin everything for you. It's a thin line.
That's it.
It's a thin line.
It is a thin line. I'm always for ego. Like, I'm the first to turn around and say, like, I'll fucking rip an MC on the mic and I'll outperform you. Like, I'm not, but I'm never going to do it at the cost of someone not believing in themselves. They're equally as capable of killing their shit. You know what I mean? And I'll be the first to stand there and go, yes, you can. So as long as that ego is not at the expense of someone else, I think that's the main thing, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, this might be a little bit of a stereotypical question, but but don't judge. But we've got to throw that in just to lightly pepper the conversation. What are you currently feeling or listening to right now in hip hop? Like, I know there's been a lot of new releases with a lot of international artists. I know you're really, really focused and driven on the local artists, but just Lee Monro, the man, the legend. What are you feeling right now? What are you listening to?
Man, I'm gonna cheat code this. I'm just gonna get my phone and you know what I'm gonna look at? I'm gonna look at my Spotify and I'm gonna tell you.
I thought you were
So
gonna
then
do.
that
Oh, do
means
you have this song and then play it? Well, we're not doing that tonight.
I have a okay. Yeah, I mean, look, how funny. I don't hate to tell you, my my search, I've got Joey Badass in there. So, if you're not a fan of Joey Badass, I mean, that's really my thing. I've got Run the Jewels.
Oh, dope.
Yep. I've been listening to a bit of Jay Dilla instrumentals.
Dope.
So,
What about the
yeah,
new Nas album? Have you given that a good listen to yet?
no, I haven't actually.
Yeah.
I still do have to. I actually I've been listening to GMC, Ryder and Johnny Narcotics down in Melbourne. They're crazy. The Scooby Tunes kid, who's a local act. Been listening to him. Yeah, I don't know, man. I've been actually going really. See, Kev Hannibal's in my list.
That's
What,
what's
what
up.
the hell? Poetic.
Okay. Do you
Yeah,
listen
man.
to any Lee Monro? Do you have any favorite Lee Monro tracks?
Yeah, actually, you know, I gotta say, that's what's been a refreshing thing about the new process. Like, what's been so dope is that lately I'm writing stuff where like I sit back and I listen to it and I'll be like, yo, this is a fucking it's a pretty dope track. Speak Less I listened to again the other day and yeah, I'm a fan of that. Pringles is a vibe. I don't know if you heard the new EP, but Pringles is like a funk jam, you know. Focus with Motley's hectic. Birds of a Feather with Motley and Nina Nicole's hectic. Um, so yeah, I do listen to myself lately. I'll tell you some crazy shit though. Actually, I'm working on this vinyl exclusive project with a producer from Sydney called Colored Noise, and man, I've never been so pumped about some of my music. Like it's like a little bit more vocal, a little bit more kickback, almost like lo-fi jazz, a little bit eccentric sort of vibe. It's definitely not, you have to be a fan, but it is going to be both an EP slash instrumental vinyl.
Yeah.
So you can kick back and listen to the tracks, or you could flip it and just listen to the intros. And I heard one track off it last night that I literally listened to, I think, 20 times over and over. And it's just keys. It's actually no drums, nothing else, just keys the whole way through. So yeah, keep an eye for that. We're trying to jam it out in the next month, so and then get them produced. But they're not going to be cheap. So real fans only.
And that's
because they're going to be costing.
Could it be safe to say that could it be safe to say that as an artist you feel you've arrived?
Yeah, man.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. I think you arrived a long time ago, but that's just from the observer's point of view. But yeah.
Like there's a lot I had to add to myself, I think, both as a human. I feel as though I was so driven and think distracted as a kid. I wasn't overly empathetic. And I think that I've grown into my responsibility and I've started to learn how I can contribute more than just my own progression. And some of I think the growth of others is actually through the growth of myself. So I feel like that's really where I found myself, and it feels really good. So yeah,
it looks good.
I think I'm here now. Yeah.
Yes, I think you are. I think safe to say you've arrived. Absolutely, and I think a lot of it has to do with being a parent, man. It's your children are an absolute testament to you. You're amazing, the amazing woman in your life. She's just beautiful. Shout out to Mackenzie. You guys are a beautiful family, and I say that with the greatest respect. And I know when our families get together, whenever we could before COVID, there's a similarity there in terms of how high we hold our family, and obviously with me and my boys, keeping me grounded, man, especially in this crazy sort of community that we ebb and flow in. Without them as anchors, I sometimes wonder what it would be like, you know. So definitely have to give
100%.
props to them. Last question before we wrap up. You are a huge advocate of mental health. You've spoken a lot about it. You and I have had the privilege of sharing time and space on panels with Foley Sydney, talking about mental health and how it affects artists and the whole line. How are you sort of going right now at the moment? Do you find yourself talking to a lot of artists about sort of staying mentally healthy, being artists, being in lockdown? Are those conversations coming up when these artists approach you about providing help, or do you have the mental health conversation just as part of almost being a mentor? Where do you see mental health in your right now?
Yeah, look, it's really important. I don't know whether or not I've taken on maybe a role of addressing it directly. Sometimes because I know, irrespective of your intent, I don't think necessarily, you could have the right intent to make sure that someone's okay, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to disclose issues. So, I think that I'm more just really mindful of how I carry myself as far as conversations go. I'll tell men and women or people that are positive in my life, I always make them feel valued and remind them that they're loved, even if it's by me, in a platonic family sort of way. And I do constantly reminders like, yo, just make sure you're taking care of your mental first, because if that fails, then a lot else will. And again, not in a pressured way, but I am a massive advocate for sobriety, and I lead by example with regards to my lifestyle with my kids, with my family, and it's helped me. It's helped me in big ways mentally, man. Like I don't know if I'd be the person I am without sobriety, and I know there's people that struggle with it more than me, and there's people that struggle with it less. But I think that there's a lot of pressure for us to have to, like, take things to assist us with alleviating pressures. And what actually happens is it actually takes away our ability to learn how to compartmentalize and learn how to actually really actually deal with problems, and that's what's fucked up. And the other thing is like, people think it's fucking lame or not cool to be a sober motherfucker. Well, I tend to disagree, and like tell me to my face that like I'm not the motherfucking man, and I'll prove you a million times, that I am, and I don't have to have a drink in my hand or a fucking blunt in my hand, or I don't have to be down on prescription meds or or meds in general, like, and I'm not afraid for a couple of cats to see me as lame, because I know there's a lot of, bro, you know what? And I don't know if I said this to you, but I remember one time I put a status up and like it got a lot of love, like, and a lot of shit talk as well. But it was basically like, yo, the bender culture is fucking whack. Like, I don't feel it.
I do remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I put it up, and I knew it was going to probably cop a little bit of shit, but but for the most part, a lot of people shared it and was like, yo, like, this is truth. Fast forward, and I bumped into to one of my younger homies, who's actually like the son of one of my friends, and he's 21 or 20 rather, and we just catching up. We happened to work together. I got him a job, and we had the pleasure of working together at Platypus, and I was like, hey man, what's going on? And he's telling me about his life, and and then he goes, hey man, I saw that status you shared the other day. I go, oh shit, yeah, the bender one, haha. And he was like, this come from a 20-year-old man, right? He's like, hey man, like, I can't say it like that, like, I'm not like you. I don't do what you do, like, and so I don't have that voice, right? But that is really, really how I feel. And I don't feel like I have to justify to people why I don't want to get fucked up. I don't feel like I have to justify to people why I don't want to take drugs, right? But I always feel like I have to.
Yeah.
But like seeing that status made me really feel that like I don't have to. I can be fucking confident in myself. And that gave me the sort of insight to be like, yo, you know what? Like that's really the responsibility. And that's how I have to take care of mental health, is that empower people through example and leadership and be mindful of how I carry myself. And so I think that as much as it's a massive thing for me, yeah, it's maybe not as direct.
Yeah.
It used to be like I used to talk it a bit more direct, but I think that now I'd probably take it with a bit of a different tact.
Yeah. Yeah, but no, and you deliver it in that just eloquent Lee Monro way. I love it. Lightly peppering the conversation with just the right amount of curse words. I really get excited, especially when you're angry or you're really annoyed about something. I'm like, oh, this is good. I get in and I get involved. Give it to us.
I don't. I used to swear quite a bit, and now I choose my words. I'd rather use those words for the right time. You know what I mean?
I feel you. And this is why I love having conversations with you, because I'm the same. I think people get surprised when I drop the odd colourful word here and there, but it's for effect and just to see if you're paying attention. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, that's exactly actually it. You nail on the head right there. I use them to grab your attention. You know what I mean? And that's in my professional life. I work in retail and I'm a sales trainer, right? So if I'm training sales and I'm saying all these buzzwords and the stuff that's boring, right? I will literally in the middle of training team members be like, and I know that every other store is going to turn around and tell you to say some fucking boring shit like, hi, how are you today, Bob, right? And let's be fucking real. It's boring. No one gives a shit. And all of a sudden they're like, is he allowed to say that? And I say, yeah, I'm allowed to fucking say that. Like at the end of the day, yo, I need you to listen to me. I'm being raw. I'm being real, right? Yes, I'm not going to swear all the time, but if you need to sharpen up your eardrums, I'm going to say something to try to grab your attention.
I love it. I love it. I knew that's why we were friends. I love it. It's marvelous. And on that note, Mr. Monro, thank you so much for your honesty, your time, your conversation, your realness, just being a legend, man. Thank you. It's I'm so proud of you. And I know that sounds a little, and I am. I'm really proud of you.
Mother Hennish. Sounds a little mother Hennish.
It does.
Look, you guys, it means a lot to hear that, to be honest. You guys have seen me, you've seen me since I was a little shit kid, skinny little white boy in there with my spiky hair, tearing up the mic, people going like, what,
You had some things to say back then, and you still have a lot to say now. But I think your voice, your intention is very, it's real, it's authentic, and you just keep saying it, man. Just keep producing the music and giving us what we love, and I'm really, really proud of you, and thank you for your time tonight.
Yo, I appreciate you as well. Same to you.
Thank you.
Keep it going.
I certainly will. And before I let you go, let people know where they can get your new EP. Where can they come to get it? What's up with the socials?
Man, let me tell you something right now. You can get the CD. I'll sign it for you. I'll write a nice message. You can get the stickers. You can get the T-shirts. You can get the hoodies. Mate, whatever your heart desires, I got it for you. You can go to leemonro.com.au. You can cop it there, or just follow me on Instagram. I'm super active on there. It's just at LeeMonro. And yeah, they can grab that. The CDs, I don't have heaps more left, but I still got some to go. But the merch you can always cop online. That's always available.
That was sounding very much like Sydney, sort of Paddy's Markets. You came in with a little bit of a fruit spooker vibe. And then you started showing it, and I thought, oh, there's going to be some kind of like crawl coming up underneath here, and it's like, get down.
Tupac, ABBA, the Bee Gees. Do you remember that?
Crazy Eds or something, wasn't it?
Crazy Eds. Yeah, whatever it was. That's right. For those that don't know, that was played over and over again in the city at like a discount store, and it was just like it would say 2-pack. And I remember 2-pack, ABBA, the Bee Gees. Like, why those three names together? I don't know.
Well, that was it. Those are good times, mate. Life was.
Because that's what Crazy Ed had. That's what he had. That's all he had. 2-pack, ABBA, and the Bee Gees. Discount.
And that's it. But we have a lot more than that, and not in that order. So, thank you again, man. It's been real love talking to you, and just stay safe. Hopefully, we'll see each other on the other side of the Zoom before too long.
Oh, we will. We definitely will.
Absolutely.
Guaranteed,
love to
man.
the family, bro.
Yeah, love to the family too.
Thank
Tell
you.
Jay, Bailey, and Miles I said hi.
Will do, man. Definitely. Thanks.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Pass it on. Laters.
Yeah. No more gangster shit. I might chill it out for a bit. Hey. Yo. Yeah. The fact is reason to stay active. Most of these street actors make their life seem attractive. Need you to keep balance, got homies that stay adaptive. Cronies from day one, or phonies who've deactivated of pages. Yeah, showing they habits, living fiction of fact. They post for the reaction, stay on the straight path. I work and rest on the Sabbath. I'm not a religious man, I'm straight up not from this planet. Out the gate though I'm savage, always spoke with the truth. Relationships took damage, I'm smoky up in the coop. I'm trying to fix what I broke. Yo, angel dust on my brain cells, can't take back what I spoke. Smoke got me locked in a brain cell, but hey well, don't let the ego destroy you. At least I'm a true core with brothers that stay loyal. I gotta take matters over, cause nobody do it for you. And even after apologies, brother, I feel awful, cause my mental had to be reset. I'm a responsibility, even though I was depressed. Took me a small break, your quarters out for the recess. Only winning and learning, cause losing I don't regret. I regress. You call it Miami defense, lay you out like a t-shirt, hit your front with the heat press. Wish these cats would just do more, preferably why they speak less. Actions louder than words, you're leaving the crowd speechless. The deepest, your pattern of thought sporadical. No false statements, I only speak on the factual. Trust when I say stay in my lane is a move tactical. Weight on my back is heavy, you're straight up snapping the clavicle. So real, you feel it because it's tangible. Levels of light years ahead, unfathomable. Still not ahead of myself though, it's gradual. Built to the top steady, defeating me unimaginable. Unicorn of the game, black sheep of my city. Uniform of a champion, only a few with me. You speak to me when you need something, fuck it, you dude shit me. Your body taking it, leaving the fan Whitney. Dead in the tub, breathless, death to the most skilled with it. Cup is half full, blood, sweat, tears that are filling it. I don't give a fuck if a rap critic ain't feeling it. Live on a day by day in my own fate, what I'm dealing with, My mental had to be reset, I'm a responsibility, even though I was depressed. Took me a small break, your quarters out for the recess. Only winning and learning, cause losing I don't regret, I regress. You call it Miami defense, lay you out like a t-shirt, hit your front with the heat press. Wish these cats would just do more, preferably why they speak less. Actions louder than words, you're leaving the crowd speechless. Don't say you relate either, I'm penning a different thesis. Get cryogenic and freeze me, come back with the raw ether. You're lethal with Max strapped to my side, man, he can sleep. But okay if you haven't heard, but your family haven't either. Jesus, you call it a resurrection, there's levels to what I do. DiCaprio with Inception. I'm not draped in green like my team played for correction. Your neuropaths from the past, they had me on disconnection. I managed that, expanding my thoughts that were once hopeless. I started hitting the bottle, thought my family wouldn't notice. I came apart at the seams, I started to lose focus. That poison deep in my veins kick-started my magnum opus. Ignited the crack dope shit, wide awake in reality. Burned me a few bridges and trolls under still mad at me. Gatekeepers, I'm picking off one by one cause it had to be done from the jump. Trust me, I'm busting them up gradually, My mental had to be reset, I'm a responsibility, even though I was depressed. Took me a small break, your quarters out for the recess. Only winning and learning, cause losing I don't regret, I regress. You call it Miami defense, lay you out like a t-shirt, hit your front with the heat press. Wish these cats would just do more, preferably why they speak less. Actions louder than words, you're leaving the crowd speechless. Mental had to be reset, hey, even though I was depressed, hey. Courts out for the recess. losing, I don't regret, regress. Miami defense, ayy, hit your front with a heat press. Cats should do more and speak less. Actions louder than words, leave them speechless.